yourself a drink of water or herbal tea, and let's process some reasons why we might not be engaging in our preferred behaviors, so that we can stop beating ourselves up for not doing, not being, and worrying ourselves further. So we do learn healthy habits, such as the habit of staying hydrated with healthy drinks such as water and herbal teas. We also have the healthy, or try to have the healthy habit of eating healthily most of the time, so that we can have the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the proteins, the antioxidants, the fibers, so that our body can function at its best, be healthier, stronger, happier. You can also have the good habit of sleeping and having quality sleep, having moments of rest and moments of physical activity. But at times we know that all of those behaviors are good, and we have experience of it: physical activity, daylight, deep breathing, quality socializing. But then at times we find ourselves not engaging in those daily healthy habits, not consistently, and at times we find ourselves engaging in behaviors that get out of balance, and we can beat ourselves up or remind ourselves that we haven't done such the good habit of doing kindness and loving and forgiving, meditation, compassionate meditation, loving meditation. Appreciating ourselves for who we are. So if you haven't, then let's do this together. Why we haven't been engaging in certain behaviors, even though we are at times capable of engaging in them, even though at times we do engage in them, but we seem to go down a rabbit hole of engaging in unbalanced behaviors, or behaviors that are good but then out of balance. For example, I like learning, but then I can spend my whole day learning and then not paying attention to other things that are also important to me, such as movement, such as looking after some things, such as sorting out some things, such as engaging in some activities that are also important in my life. I obsessively focus on one area only, and then everything else just falls. So let's pick a habit that we haven't done, such as the habit of doing self-loving, self-acceptance, the looking in the eye in the mirror and saying that we love ourselves. Okay, so if you have the habit, but then you stopped engaging in the habit of looking in the mirror and saying, I love myself, and then you want to, but one part of you is resistant, does not want to. Let's explore what that might be. Why don't we want to look in the mirror look in the mirror and say, I love you, when we were able to at some point. Let's see if we can connect with our internal voices and seek clarification and find ways around it. We're going to do some deep breathing and we're going to ask questions. I'm going to use the I so that it's easier. If you're doing this exercise with me, you can ask that question to yourself. I can use you or I can use we. I'm going to use the I. So we can ask that to ourselves directly and it's easy to respond and to connect, I think. So, close the eyes. Notice where you are on an emotional scale. How are you feeling in this moment? Non-judgmentally, just observe the thoughts that come and go, the feelings. Simply notice. Notice the body, the breathing. And let's ask the question to ourselves. Why don't I want to tell myself that I love myself? Why don't I tell myself, why don't I look in the mirror and say, I love myself? Why can't I? Why don't I? Why don't I look in the mirror and tell myself that I love myself? Now, you can pause the video if you need further time to answer any of these questions. Sometimes we don't want to look ourselves in the mirror and say I love us, I love myself, because we might feel disappointed with ourselves, disappointed that we are not looking after ourselves, disappointed that we're not engaging in the behaviors that are best for us. Disappointed that we don't want to see perhaps the struggle and the suffering that we are experiencing. And perhaps we don't want to accept the part of us that we reject in others and reject in us. For instance, if you think that anger is an inappropriate emotion, you might push it away and you might criticize in others and in yourself as being unacceptable. However, let's remind ourselves that all emotions have a purpose, a function, and often is to protect us, to ensure that we are safe, that we are in power. But we can go about it in healthy ways or destructive ways, in helpful ways or destructive ways. And it's for us to learn the patterns of our behavior, to recognize, to learn, and also to recognize and learn that some behaviors we absorbed, we learned from others that did not know any better. So let's not blame ourselves or blame others, because they also have learned from someone else's and absorbed from someone else's. we are responsible for our healing. Others may have contributed and caused out of their blindness and awareness, not being able to do better, not being capable, not knowing any difference. And they are responsible for the way they react and respond to their lives and things. And we are responsible for our reactions. So even though we might have something ingrained in us, and it's not our fault, it's a result of the living we've lived, we also have the opportunity to recognize, to heal, to learn, to practice doing different. It's not trying to put extra responsibility in the sense of making us beating ourselves up, but feeling empowered that I didn't have a say in the matter on the learning. By now I can have a say in the matter on the way that I want to heal and recover. And I have choices, and I can choose those behaviors that are in line with the person that I want to be, with the life I want to live. So let's allow ourselves to forgive ourselves. To forgive ourselves for the times that we did not engage in the behaviors that we wanted, that would have preferred, that we say we should have. Often we don't engage in certain behaviors because we try to get some needs met. We might appear lazy when in fact we are just overwhelmed by our emotions and don't know where to start and where to turn, or might want to give ourselves a rest. We might appear to given up because we are weak and lazy, when in fact we just try to protect ourselves because we cannot continue to fight. We cannot continue to drag our feet, and we are on a survival mode. We might appear to engage in behaviors or activities that are pointless, when in fact we just try to cheer ourselves up. We might perceive to be engaging in activities that, or hobbies, does not contribute or seen in a positive light, when in fact we just want some safety, some positivity, some light, some love, some attention, or even an environment where we can connect with the parts of ourselves that feels good, that feels confident, that feels joy and happy. So all behaviors have a purpose. Let's connect with our breathing. Notice. Allow it to flow. And let's forgive ourselves. Breathe in. Breathe out. I forgive myself for not picking the healthiest options in terms of eating and reaching for the extra crunch, taste, savory, sweet, when in fact I was trying to chill myself up, I was trying to release some tension, trying to release some stress, trying to give myself a little bit more energy. So if you notice the behavior is trying to be helpful in some way, it might not be the most helpful in the now, mid and long term, but it's trying to be helpful. So instead of beating ourselves up for not having engaged on those activities, we recognize that we're there to serve us in some capacity for our well-being. So we'd stop beating ourselves up. We forgive ourselves. We accept what is. And then we can move towards different choices. Choices that are more empowering, that are more supportive, that are more conducive to feeling good and healthy now, mid and long term. Breathe in. Breathe out. What else do we want to forgive ourselves? I forgive myself for not engaging in the physical activity that would have been helpful to me. And the reasons I did not engage in that is because I was paying attention to things outside of my control. I was getting those things affect my energy, my motivation, my mood, because I was automatically reacting to them and feeling powerless, hopeless, angry, frustrated. And in the moment I was not able to stay focused on what I needed, because I felt demoralized and demotivated by the consistency of things. So dragging my feet, trying to insist on the solution that is clearly not working for the circumstances, and feeling more demotivated because it just feels like failure after failure after failure, because I'm focusing on things that are beyond my control. I'm focusing on others. I'm focusing on other circumstances that I cannot control. So I forgive myself for not being able to find a different solution, a solution that takes into account the circumstances that I am in and what I can do about it, what's within my control. I forgive myself for keeping on persisting and going down the road of inflexibility. Sometimes a solution works in a context, but at times that context, the variables in that context change, and that one solution that has worked no longer works. And you need to be flexible and adjust and try to come up with different ways, an alternative solution. And try to beat ourselves because we automatically react because we don't know the answer is unkind to us. It is painful. We are doing the best we can in the circumstances, and if we do not know the answer, we can ask, or we can try different solutions. We can tentatively try different approaches, see the pros and cons of each approach, have the courage to get outside of our comfort zone and try different things, and then see which one's best fits, and then hold on to that hope that this is temporarily, instead of automatically panicking and worrying that it will be like this forever. But just remembering this is temporarily. And when we are counting the number of times that we find ourselves in the circumstance, and day after day after day, then we start feeling hopeless. and we think this will be like this forever. But just remember, we will find solutions for this. We can either find something, or we can change the way we look at things. And what we need is one more different way of trying, one more different way of thinking. Give ourselves permission to slow down, to put it one side. Let's not wrestle to the ground and be depleted as a consequence. Let's take our time to heal, recover, engage in a distracting activity for a time being that is helpful, while we recharge. And have hope that in time we will find a solution and find ways to manage and mitigate. It might not be the perfect solution, but it could be for now the best compromise. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. What are the reasons do we stop loving ourselves and wanting to tell ourselves that we love ourselves? Why? What else do I need to forgive myself? What else would you like to forgive yourself for? Go ahead and say, I forgive myself. Sometimes we have habits, and the habits do go out of place because our brain and our body is perceiving something else as more important, more urgent. Perhaps we might be struggling with thoughts that are more conducive to feeling anxious, or to feeling negative, or to feeling more hopeless and depressed. Perhaps we have something physical that the body is healing and recovering that takes a lot of energy. Perhaps we started getting so limited in a way that we view the world and ourselves and things, that we stop experimenting because we're not feeling confident, we're feeling vulnerable. And when we feel vulnerable, we tend to prefer staying in our comfort zone because that's where we feel safer. But while that can help us in terms of healing and recovering physically, mentally and emotionally, we can also take baby steps. A little baby step that is still safe and comfortable, but allow us to build our confidence, that allow us to build our satisfaction, that allow us to break the routine and see things through different eyes with curiosity and interest, so that allows us to break our pattern of thinking that often when we don't feel good tends to be more negative, anxious in nature. So if you can take baby steps to forgive ourselves, and also baby steps to return to the activities that are helpful to us in tiny increments. Then we can start healing and gaining our strength and getting back on the saddle in a way that is manageable to our energy levels, to our perception. And then with those small wins, we start to feel better. We start to believe in ourselves again. And then the momentum will help us carry through. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. What else do we want to forgive ourselves for? I forgive myself for forgiveness. Allow us to make peace with what is. Recognize we are humans. Recognize that we are fallible, that we have capabilities but also imperfections. Recognize that sometimes we get right and sometimes not so much. But also recognize that we are not alone in this life. All human beings at times engage in behaviors that are helpful, sometimes unhelpful, and sometimes what is perceived to be unhelpful is trying to help in some way. And we're just going to choose to be wiser and choose to see our options and solutions and being able to engage on those thoughts, on those behaviors, on those actions that are more in line with the things, the people, the activities, the life that we want to have, to engage, so that we can feel healthier, so that we can feel more at peace, so that we can feel more love, joy and happiness. Breathe in. I forgive myself for not being who I want to be. Sometimes we want to become a person that is more in line with certain characteristics that we value, that are approved by ourselves, society, and in life in general. And while those behaviors are worthwhile engaging and living for, we also have a level that can be perfectionist to it. And while we engage in those behaviours, we might feel good. If we don't, and we beat ourselves up, then that behaviour no longer is a motivation, no longer feels good, and can help highlight how bad we are by not engaging in them. So let's recognize that we want progression, recognize that we are on the road, on the journey of learning, practicing, and doing our best to do the best we can with the resources that we have in each given moment. And instead of trying, I am going to be or engage in this behavior all of the time, we can go instead of all or nothing, we can go, I'll do my best to engage in this behavior most of the time. And when we don't, stop and think, what's the reason? And then see if we can help ourselves in a different way. In a way that is more empowering, that is more helpful. Breathe in. Breathe out. Instead of all or nothing, we can recognize that at times we do engage. Instead of saying it's all lost, we can recognize, yes, we might have one setback, one moment where perhaps we didn't stay in line with what we wanted to live. But it's one moment. So if you want to be calm and we are not, you can recognize most of the time I'm calm, and maybe perhaps once I'm not as calm as I want to be. And then recognize, why am I not engaging in this behavior that I wish to engage? Why? And we might find that we might be trying to protect ourselves, our energy, our limits. And even recognizing that sometimes we have to give up and try a different approach, a different way of looking at it. Breathe in. Breathe out. I forgive myself. We can even look ourselves in the mirror and have that dialogue with the part of us that some describe as the inner child or the hurt part of ourselves. And just be compassionate and say, I'm sorry that I did not look after you the way that you wanted me to, or that I would prefer to. I'm sorry that I was not capable. It's not that I don't care, I do care. I simply have not been feeling as good as I wanted. And there's one part of us that expects that we know what to do. But part of life, sometimes we don't know what to do. There are others that might be able to help. And maybe have that courage to ask, to seek solutions. Someone that can help without wings when our wings are broken, or when we can't see further than we know. So someone can help us. And trusting that in time we get to know those solutions and the things in the grand scheme of things to fall into place. Having more confidence in our ability, our resilience, that we are stronger than we think and feel, that we have a little bit more. Also recognizing that our moments to stop and that our moments to pause, that our moments to heal and recover, that our moments to slow down, that our moments to let go, that our moments to accept, that our moments to give up, that our moments to try a different approach, that our moments to reevaluate. Is this still what is best for me and for those that I care, now mid and long term? Is this a good use of my energy and time? Do I want to use this energy? Do I want to use my precious and energy, limited energy, for this matter in this way? Or do I want to direct my energy for something more meaningful, more in line with the values that I want to live, and the person I want to be, and the things and the people that are important to me? Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Have little sips of water as you watch the video. You can stay hydrated. Breathe in. Breathe out. What about those moments that we might engage in certain behaviors because part of us says that is wrong, or society says that is wrong, or label it it's wrong? But we have a need to engage in those behaviors. And I'm talking about mild things. We might take that extra biscuit and not share. So it's considered to be selfish. But it could be because we are in desperate need of cheering ourselves up, or feeling extra hungry, really hungry. Just an example. Or it could be that we might share something that we don't want others to perceive us as being negative or toxic or trauma dumping, or whatever that label that society or us don't see it as good. But then we still engage in that behavior, perhaps by oversharing. And it might just mean that we desperately need either to make sense, or to be able to share, or to be able to get some space, or to be able to feel validated, or to be able to get attention and love. Or it's just a habit that we have and you don't recognize that the habit just repeats itself. Or that we might be seen as not judgmental, because if I can accept yours, then I can relax. I can feel more relaxed, knowing that you will also see me as a human being. So that if I share my vulnerability, then you can share yours too. So that we might be needing to feel accepted or to have rapport. So there could be different reasons why we might say, I shouldn't have done. It's not the best, but we still engage. What's the function and purpose of that behavior, even though we said no? And then forgiving ourselves for perhaps not engaging in that behavior, but then also recognizing we had a need, or we have a need. And obviously we need to be respectful and knowing if this is the best way about going about our needs in a way that is respectful to us and others, now, mid and long term. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. What about holding on to resentments or behaviors that others might engage in? Whereas we say that we have forgiven, that we forgive, that we are forgiving, but in the back of our mind we're still holding on to that resentment. Perhaps someone did not stay in touch, perhaps someone did not behave in a way that we expected them to behave. How about forgiving ourselves and recognizing, why are we still holding on to the resentment, to the wrongdoing? Yes, that is a place that we need to put our boundaries and we need to protect ourselves. And that sometimes we need to make choices so that we choose not to have some people in our lives because that are not healthy for us physically, mentally, emotionally. But are also at times little things, and some people still need to be part of our lives. But also we might choose to forgive, but we might choose not to forgive. And that choosing not to, you might be engaging in a way of protecting ourselves so that we keep the person at arm's length, so that we protect ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, so that we don't become so vulnerable, so that we don't engage in behaviors that makes us more vulnerable to getting hurt again. So let's forgive ourselves for the forgiveness that we are not able to engage in, at least in the moment, because we don't know how to do any different, because we don't know how to engage in a different way. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. What about those moments where we expect that others behave in a certain way but we don't? But then we feel fake, or like an imposture, because we're not being or behaving the way that we wish, that we wanted to, that we tell, that we expect from us and others. Let's forgive ourselves. I forgive myself. And recognize that it's all part of us. Sometimes we behave in ways that we know, that we feel good, that we feel confident, that we know what to do, that we can engage in the best activities, the best actions, or the most helpful. And sometimes we don't. And it's all part. We're not just one perfect behavior all of the time, or one imperfect behavior all of the time. We are all of it. And recognizing that sometimes we get things very good and very well done, and sometimes we don't. And we are all like that. Even within the areas that we're good at times we excel and sometimes we don't. So we're not being cautious, it's just recognizing that at times we engage in an activity that we encourage, and sometimes we don't, because we are human beings and there are other priorities. And we are more than just one emotion, than one behavior. We adapt according to the circumstances, according to our resources, according to the way we are feeling, and according to the energy we have. We are all of it and more. So we could say it's part of me. At times I do feel good and confident and engage in those habits that are helpful, and times I don't feel good and confident and will engage in behaviors that are not as helpful. Just a reality from a multitude of realities. Breathe in. Breathe out. Otherwise, those moments where we behave a certain way and then people expect us to behave in that way all of the time. And then if we don't, we feel bad. And we might engage in something else. But then recognizing that, why did we engage in something else? And we might not want to share. And often it's because we had a need. Either physical need, an emotional need, a relational need, an environmental need that needed to be met. And the reason we do not wish to share, disclose, tell is because we don't want to be perceived as wrong, or be judged or criticized or ostracized, or not being able to be understood and get further hurt. But we know our reasons better than anybody else does. We might not be engaging in the most helpful solution, but we are doing the best we can in each given moment. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. I forgive myself. I accept myself. good, bad, light, darkness. The lot. Breathe in. Breathe out. What else would you like to forgive yourself for? And what's the reasons for your behavior? Let's recognize that sometimes our brain perceives things differently. Our emotional brain perceives things differently, sees things with different priorities. Is it from a priority of survival, not from a priority of habits or relaxation or joy or happiness? Is survival first. But we can learn to get a better hold of ourselves, recognize what needs we need, and try to give them in a more regular, consistent manner. For instance, I might say, I'm going dancing and I'm coming home early because I need to give myself an early night so that I can cope better with the day ahead and week ahead. But then I go out and I start having fun, or start engaging in conversations that are satisfying. And then it's hard to stick with that original plan. And I could beat myself, and sometimes I do. I made this choice. Yes, that was good, but now there is something bad out of it. And then it's recognizing my need, perhaps to have a more fun conversation, more interesting conversation. Or even the need to see certain people that I don't have the opportunity, and be with certain people that I don't have the opportunity otherwise. Or it's just enjoying the moment so much that I don't want it to end. It is satisfying, the coolness of the night, just being in a relaxed mode, chatting away without a care in the world, feeling good. But then we can recognize what need could be: a need for fun, a need for interaction, a need for conversation, a need for a meaningful interaction. And then in what ways can I provide that need, or satisfy that need, that is also supportive of the other things that I want to live? Perhaps bring that interaction to a different time, a different location, so that I can still live both experiences. So how can you satisfy your needs in a way that is more balanced, that is in line with your values, so that often we gain in one thing and we lose in another? You go dancing, gain on the fun, and then lose on the sleep. So, same for you. What do you gain and what do you lose? And in what way can you make a different choice so that that is more of a win-win, now mid and long term, and so that you don't lose other things that are also important? Eating treats, lives feel satisfying in the moment, but also when I engage in them, I'm depriving myself from giving myself nourishing foods that my body needs to heal and recover, to feel good. But in what ways can I make those treats balanced so it don't ruin the good work, don't ruin the good habit? The same with the other habits in life. In what way can we be moderated? Can we be more balanced? So we can have a multitude of habits that support us, that empower us, that makes us feel cared for, loved. And let's give the ones we can to ourselves. And let's have the courage to ask others to help us achieving those. Sometimes we need a hug. Why not? Can I have a hug? And sometimes we need to give that hug to ourselves. Let's have the courage to look in the mirror, to forgive ourselves for every single thing we need to forgive, to make peace, to accept and say, I love you even when, or I love myself even when I don't engage in this and that and the other behavior. I love myself even when I engage in this and that and the other behavior that I do not want to engage. I love myself even when I don't look this, that and the other way. I love myself even though I might be looking this, that and the other way that I do not want to. Forgiving and accepting and loving ourselves despite looking at ourselves unconditionally, loving ourselves unconditionally, regarding ourselves unconditionally. Our worth, our love is not attached to the behaviors we engage, is not attached to the person we are being. We are worthy of value and we are valuable because we exist, because we are human beings. Everything else is just skills that we engage in for our benefit, to the maximum benefit of our life in terms of health, in terms of happiness. But we're still worthy regardless of the behaviors we engage. We might not know, and we can learn, and we can change, and we can do the different. And when we lose and fall, may we have the courage to recognize, to stand up, to get up, and let's support others as well. Because at times we fall and others help us, and other times we are stronger and we can help others. It's a community. So breathe in. Breathe out. All the behaviors are only there to help us live a more balanced, healthier, happier life. But we are valued. We are valuable. We are worthy of love, of attention, of living, of feeling good. We deserve that because we are human beings. And all human beings deserve to be accepted, loved and respected despite the behaviors they engage in. We all fail at times, we all fall at times. But let's compassionately learn, heal, engage in different behaviors, and step by step walk towards the person, the behavior, the life that we want to live, so that we can feel that we are living a healthy, balanced life that has meaning, that is worth living, and takes into account all the good and the bad, the ups and downs, the riches, the variety, and knowing that good things come out of every experience. Knowledge, determination, preference, and a willingness to do different. A big hug. Bring your hands to your heart. Breathe in. Breathe out. Big hug. Love, 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 love. Big hug. You are doing the best you know and can in this moment. You're doing better than you think. Don't give up. Just have a little rest. And then start with the basics again. Restart with the basics again. And as many times as it is needed. And know that bit by bit, step by step, you'll get there. And over time you will see the progress. You will. I promise you will.